Ladies and gentlemen, it's 20-30 hours here in Ireland on a Wednesday evening. It's time for another educationalizing, crack-filled and banter-driven episode of Three Blokes, a Ball and BOD. Tonight we're looking at women's rugby and women in rugby, and he's your host. It's the one and only, he's a legend in his own naffy break. It's Big Joe Shep. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome, wherever you are in the globe. I know, it's crazy sort of opening, isn't it? I'm just going to sort of get rid of that one there. On tonight's show, we've got two of our three guests in. We're trying to get the third one in. We're having a problem with her camera. But we hope that everybody is well. And here is just something to, for those people who are at home, and have been saying, oh, I'm so struggling, I can't get into a regime or something, you know, I'm trying to stay healthy, blah, 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 blah. Here is a top tip for getting through COVID-19 from, as you can see, an athlete. I like to keep in shape. It's just that this week's shape is a sack of spuds. Here is Big Joe Shep's top tip for staying healthy. You're not hungry, you don't. Shut the fucking fridge. There you go. So that's my top tip for the week. As I try and get people. For some reason, I'm not seeing any comments in my link. I'm not seeing that there's anybody there, and I can see on Facebook that there is. So we'll crack on. Before we bring in two other guests, we hope that we. Oh, here they are. All the comments are coming in now. Look, Jesus, look at that. John Smith from the Hoyleg Treviso, well, Benetton, crew is now. Hey mate, no sound. He is saying. Dermot saying no sound. That was maybe because maybe that's a wishful thinking after my crap jokes, Dermot. But how you go? I've got sound, mate. Three Blokes, a Ball and BOD. Not sure who that is actually, because I'm here. There can be only one in this world. There we go. Dermot saying okay now. Johnny Pullen, magnificent shape. Absolutely. Look at that, man. Look at that. Jesus, I could be almost, my body hold up, I could almost be back in the playing days again. Okay, so what we are going to do is we've got a couple of shout outs first of all. You're welcome to the show, guys, and we are talking about women's rugby, women in rugby. We're going to bring our fan and five on, who was the craziest girl I've ever met in my life. She's a frontline nurse. She's ex-forces veteran, which is brilliant to start with. She is Glasgow Warriors and Scotland superfan. We've got two professional rugby players, one ex-professional, one sort of is a professional rugby player and should be playing for a country. If you're listening, Canada, listen to Big Joe Shep because he knows best. Two shout outs to begin with. First of all, a guy called Alan from Air is our telecom provider over here. And at the moment, we're having tremendous problems with all of these people being at home. Our upload speed, which we need for a good streaming show, is about a fifth, a sixth, a seventh of what it needs to be. So Alan from who it turns out has followed this show before. How spooky is that? It's fast tracking a job through. So hopefully we can get our internet and we can keep on going as usual. Thank you tonight to our good friends at Asia Security and Protection Group, based in Hong Kong, but delivering secure close protection, security, surveillance, and investigation skills across the globe. And they have something. It's great on a women's show tonight because they have some of the top female operators, investigators, surveillance operatives, and security analysts in the world. So thanks very much to them. And we are, as ever, supported by coffeedog.ie, official suppliers to Three Blokes, a Ball and BOD. And here's the exciting thing. Yes, I keep getting messages. People don't want to go to the site. First of all, is there still a promotional code? Yes, there is. Go to coffeedog.ie and put the promo code SHEP, S-H-E-P in, as in me, and you will give you 20, Johnny and the team will give you 20% off. There you go. And today they've released another coffee, a hot chocolate, and a chai tea. Nom, nom, nom. So that's where you need to go. Right. Our final shout out tonight is for the sister of one of our extended rugby family is Daniel Yuli, and his sister Vicky is in the final throes of cancer in hospital in Australia. This week, a number of the extended rugby family have been doing videos for her. Vicky is like a lot of people, alone at a critical time in her life, and now which is very, very sad. And we send our wishes out to Vicky and to Daniel and to everybody who is going through that at this time. Nobody should ever be alone. But unfortunately, in this crisis, we need to get through it. But people will be ill alone. They're home alone. Some people will die and will be buried alone. So we send our best out to everybody. Stay home. Let's get this all beaten, lads, and let's get a finish once more. So to Vicky and to Daniel and to everybody struggling moments, our hearts go out to you all. I'm just going to take our guests off mute, and I'm going to bring them both in at the same time, and then I'll introduce them. I'm reading. They're coming. They should be coming. Let me take myself off solo. And there we go, ladies. We have got two of our guests in. I am just looking at from Fiona Hayes, the former Munster and Ireland player, starlet. I've refreshed the page a few times. I was on Google Chat now with the camera not working. All I can say is, as if you're watching Fee, try and log off and try and. We desperately want one. I'm disappointed, but I'm going to have to sort of crack on as we are now. I'm so sorry about that, lads. Welcome to the show. So we adapt. This is something we learned in the forces. You adapt. Nothing lasts the first round down the range of a battle, as they say. So we'll adapt and overcome as ever. So we're going to have our fan in five, and we're going to have our guest, and we're going to leave them both in, and we're just going to adapt the show as you do. It's a forces thing.
Yeah,
Somebody in the forces. That makes forces. Here we go. Very top. Jasvir Robertson. Jazz. Well, is Glasgow Warriors and Scotland superfan in the Highlands of Scotland. She is former Royal Air Forces. She is a Scotland or the Warriors top on. She is a frontline nurse with the NHS up there in Scotland, and she is there you go. She is ex RAF in the Forces veteran as well. Jazz, you're welcome to the show. How are you? How's the Highlands?
The Highlands is doing not too bad, so it's only just starting to get a little bit dark up here. So my front room is now lit up like Blackpool illuminations, but it's all very wonderful, and I can think of worse places to be stuck in isolation. Cheers.
Absolutely, cheers. And also joining us, she was until I thought yesterday still with Richmond ladies. She has now moved to Bristol Bears ladies. Wow, can't wait. Shame the season has come to a hell for everybody, but she'll be back soon enough. And she also she is from Saskatchewan, if I remember rightly, in Canada, and she also has a ladies rugby apparel store. Apparel is a fancy posh word which I picked up from somewhere. I couldn't possibly do something like that. It's a ladies rugby
you said it right.
All right, yeah, which is absolutely fine. It's called Ruggette RFC, RUGGETTE. You got to go and look at it because it is fab, and it is the ladies. Gents, go and look at Ruggette RFC because there's some absolutely phenomenal stuff there for two different types of ladies. And I love the honesty and the openness of it. Please welcome Stefania Evans. Steph, how are you? Steph, can you hear me? Yeah, cool. Stop me. Yeah, excellent. And how? Oh, I've got no sound from you now, Steph. Steph. It's gone again. Your sound is coming through. Your sound is coming through intermittently. I'm not quite sure what you did before.
Thanks for such an intro. I think you should write all of my resumes. This is now on.
Cool. Yeah, you are coming through, but the sound is coming through intermittently.
Oh no!
Yeah. I'm not sure. Listen, we'll crack on and talk to Jazz while we're trying to solve that. Unfortunately, look, it's one of those things we're trying to.
This is terrible.
Oh no, you're there now. Whatever you do now. So whatever sort of position you're speaking at, 32 degrees to the horizontal, looking out towards the starry flower or something. Stay there because that was okay. Then we could hear you. You're all welcome to the show. As ever, nothing runs smooth. I can't wait to go to COVID-19 for lots of reasons. To get everybody back to work, so we've got full internet again. I'm only joking, lads. We get back to work.
Well, you guys, it's still bad.
Yeah. I am picking you up, Steph. Yeah, I'll pick you up. So let's start with Jazz. Jazz, who are you?
Hi.
Well, I've introduced you mostly, but where did your love of rugby come from?
Well, I know this is meant to be far and five, But I think this might go on for a bit longer than 5 minutes. So none of my speeches ever went on for what they were went to. They always went on for at least 15 minutes after. My love of rugby basically stemmed from my dad's side of the family, the Robertson side. And Grandpa Robertson was a bit of a fan of the Finlay Calder and John Jeffrey era and Gavin Hastings. So I kind of followed a bit from then. Then obviously grew up a wee bit, teenage years, and then joined the RAF at the age of 21. Your services career kind of just takes over. You don't really get to think about much else. And being a nurse as well, you're working within the civilian hospitals. But then when I came out and I sorted out a few other personal aspects of my life, and I always watched the Six Nations. Scotland is my life. I've got my little tattoo as well, which I'm so proud of. You can see that. Oh God. So that's started following it again really properly in 2018, and in 2019 I became a Glasgow Warriors season ticket holder. I'm a Scotland Supporters Club member, so I like to get my seats quite quickly when they come out, and it's basically been a case of just everything that I do revolves around Scottish rugby, Glasgow Warriors and Star Wars. And for me, through some dark periods of time that quite a lot of veterans go through, rugby was the sole thing that got me through. Scottish rugby quite literally saved my life, Joe. It is the best antidepressant I have ever come across. And if I'm ever in having a crap time of it, Scottish rugby is the go-to. And Glasgow Warriors obviously is part of it. So there's a bit of an intro.
No, that's absolutely excellent. Did you ever play?
No, unfortunately not. I'm a bit too skinny, so if I was going to be anything, it would probably be a standoff or a winger. But I played a wee bit of netball, but nothing too competitive. I'm 43 years old now. I've got a couple of injuries I've picked up in my neck and my back. So playing in rugby, I'm not so sure about. But the guys up here in the Lochaber Rugby Club, they are absolutely phenomenal. Grassroots rugby, Ben Nevis and the background is phenomenal. And they're kind of trying to get me in a bit more and do some women's things. And I desperately want to, but I'm so unfit. So I kind of need to stop drinking the damn Guinness. Get my trainers on, find it where everywhere is 2 meters apart, and just run. But I do play hockey, so I like that. I play hockey for Lochaber Hockey Club, and I'm quite a substitute goalie from time to time. Quite multi-talented.
And what is brilliant? What's rugby done for you? More than it kept you going through those really dark periods. Is it just the game you love, the players? You like the Blokes, or is it the rugby family, or all of it?
It's a bit of everything. I know it's a daft thing, and people go, a girl that likes rugby, and it's like the old draconian times, very draconian times, and people would go, oh yeah, you're really after it for the bums and the thighs and everything. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute, and we've all got a favourite player, okay? We've all got a favourite player, that's fine. And everybody's there going, oh, Jazz, you need to marry one of them. I'm like, no, that's not what it's about. That's not what this is about at all. For me, it's a case of, for the Scottish rugby, the Glasgow Warriors is a little bit different because the prep for that is a whole lot different. But for Scotland rugby, it's a case of every game day there's a ritual where the right socks go on, the right undies go on, superstitious. The jersey gets ironed. It's always a long sleeve jersey. It must get ironed. The Scotland rugby logo gets a kiss. The saltire must get a kiss before you pull the jersey on. These are all the rituals. And then it's obviously going to Murrayfield. There's the build-up. parking up at Ingleton, if I'm parking, if I'm driving, and getting off, and then it really begins. Then you see the whole stadium. Then you see all the fans, and you get the wee colours put on your face. And then if you're drinking, you get a pint, and then you go to your seat, and the stadium is absolutely electrifying, Joe. It's the whole way that it makes you feel. And then when the lads come out and the pyrotechnics go up, and then they play Flower of Scotland, and I'm starting to well up talking about this. My bottom lip is going for it. The hair in the back of my neck is on end right now. And so when they do the Flower of Scotland, and then everybody roars, and that is the absolute pivotal moment for me this year. I'm welling up here. And this is when the actual game of rugby, and I know the forums, everybody goes in the forums and they start, decimating the players and all the rest of it. But for me, I go to watch two teams with an oval-shaped ball knock the hell out of each other within the rules and score the tries, score the penalties, and win the bloody game, Joe. That is all it is about for me. But through that, I have met yourself. I have met a whole raft of people in the rugby family, Glasgow Warriors, and obviously the Scotland national team, the Up and Under. I've only recently been in there a few times because you have to get in if you're not there fast enough. But the friends that I've made, Ali Carberry, Mark Anderson, Tom Carberry, Cathy Rose, Barry Carlin, David Stubley, two Anne Baird Rogers, too many to mention. If I forget to name you, then I'm sorry. But it's the experiences that I've had through these people, the motivation, the friendships that I've built, and it's the closest thing that I can get to an RAF family, a military family, is the rugby family. It's where you can just walk in and you feel at home. You haven't seen them for how long. This COVID-19 thing is just a nuisance, but it's this way that we can all keep in touch doing things like this. To get to pull on the jersey, no matter what, we're doing reruns, and it's the whole thing. And for the lads as well, I mean, the team, for me, as an ex-RAF sergeant, 3 months shy of 17 years in the Royal Air Force, I look at the lads as if they were my lads going out to battle, right? Give them a pep talk if I could, and then they go out, do your best, lads, give the absolute most, don't come back with any injuries, please don't. Half time they come back, full time they come back, damage limitation, who's injured, who's not, pep talk if they need it, if they don't. If they win, great, let them celebrate, let them get hammered. Even if they lose, let them absorb it, let them feel it. And talk tactics the day after. Don't get thrown into them straight away. That's just no use. It's just, it invigorates my military.
I get that. I'm going to stop you there, right? Because, ladies and gents, thanks for tonight's show. We've got to go. That's it. We'll wrap up now. I'm only joking. Honestly, I think that Mr. Dodson at the SRU should be bringing you in to solve a problem with a certain Finn Russell and Gregor Townsend, because I don't think they'd be messing around for much longer than. I would be honestly. I'm just. Whoa, I can feel that inspiration. It's almost like.
You sit there. Shut up.
Steph, you get it. Absolutely. It's like Steph. It's like a player going through the different ironing the shirt. It's all part of that regime, and it's that. Well, let me just get rid of all these. It's that passion and drive within rugby, whether you're a player or whether you're a fan. Steph, prior to the season just stopping, tell us what took you to Bristol and how everything going with Ruggette and yourself.
Everything's going really, really well, other than this stoppage, obviously, which obviously has to happen. It's way better, or it's way better to kind of get in front of this and manage it than risk anybody's health or safety. And in the grand scheme of things, I think not playing rugby is a very small price to pay for that. But I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't very sad to see the season end. I moved to Bristol about, I'm actually on week 6 or 7. And
Okay.
it was my husband and I relocated. Previously, we've been in Essex. We moved to the Shrivenham area outside of Swindon, and Bristol was quite close. And it's been a fantastic club. I'm really, really welcoming, really, really kind. Can't say enough about the club culture and about how just fantastic everybody's been there in welcoming me and getting me up to speed. I feel like I've been there a lot longer than I have, and I've really learned a lot already. So hopefully just more of the same whenever we pick back up. And Ruggette's doing really well. Right now we are doing a rugby from home or a women's rugby from home campaign, where across the world we've got people sending in at-home workout ideas, isolation skills sessions they can do to work on ways to stay connected with your teammates and keep interacting, keep learning, keep progressing, and working on your fitness goal stuff whilst remaining socially isolated. And it's been really both inspiring but also heartwarming to see the community come together and really make a concerted effort to be there for each other right now. And I'm just really happy that I can and my company can be a part of that, I guess.
Cool. What's the biggest thing that I'm going to come to some of the messages in a minute once things calm down a little bit. What's the biggest thing that rugby has done for your life, Steph? Yeah, I'm not hearing any of your sound, Steph. Now you've gone.
Oh, that's a really good question. I think without being too cheesy, I think that both the sport itself, the game, and the way the game is played, how physical it is, how difficult it is, but then also the way that you need a lot of different skill sets and a lot of different types of athleticism.
No, there's a delay.
I'm back. Am I back?
There's a delay.
I think I might have a really big delay.
Yeah,
sometimes when I'm talking, I stop, and it's a while before anybody responds.
Yeah, I think there must be a good 10-second delay on what's been said. So that's
I'm going to try.
I
think there's just a big delay. So if you're okay with that, okay. Without being
let's take some of the let's go with some.
Okay, thank God. At least it's going through.
Yeah.
Look, one of
So I'm gonna try and do my phone.
Cool. Okay, I'll take some of the comments that we've got online in the meantime. Andy Devereux saying Steph is well delayed. She's going to try and sort of log out and then come back in on her phone. Thanks, Andy. Ian Gilbert in Hola out in Madrid is saying the same. I tell you, one of the interesting things that people will begin to see now, because all the programs on TV now are being done from people's homes. Even for TV programs, you can see the people used to think that, why do we have so many tech issues? Well, A, because it's a third-party app going through Facebook. B, whilst my internet normally is pretty damn good, it's you've seen on what's happening with people in on TV programs now, where everybody's working from home. The standard of some of the receptions and stuff coming through is pretty poor. This is it. They've got production teams working from a distance doing all that. They've got sound people outside the houses. They've got production teams. We've got nothing. So we're just adapting. So hopefully we can pull those things back in Caitlin T. Kelly. Caitlin, how are you? I hope that you're well. This is nice, Jazz. Yeah, passion there. Martin over in Melbourne, Australia. Joe, you need a shave. You look younger then. Yeah, people started to me last week. It's starting to grow back, but somebody nearby here prefers me with it. So there you go. So you've all lost and you won, obviously, because I'm a modern man, you see. I wear the trousers, but she tells me what colour they're to be. So I watch the program, so just roll with it, guys. There we go. Ian Gilbert, maybe if we put our watches forward 10 seconds, we could. If we put it forward 4 months, mate, we'd be out of this mess, and then we'd all be back to a semblance of life. Nigel Quigley. In fact, I should have gone the other way up. Let me just go for some of these because Jazz, you're an instant hit. Al Whelan says, is that a pint or a glass of Guinness, Jasvir? Hold up, it should be a pint, methinks. A glass of no self-respect and RAF former sergeant would have a glass of Guinness.
A pint glass.
That tiny glass, my backside, that's a pint, woman. There we go. Dave Toppin, Wing One Up in Ulster says, hello, how you doing? There we go. Liam Byrne says, all the best, Jazz. Cool. Coffee, now there's an idea. Yep. Was supported by coffee, but we're also having a wee glass tonight anyway. So who else have we got on? Gerald Williamson from Navan. Gerald, how are you? Former past president of Navan Rugby Football Club there. Good man yourself. The lady likes Guinness, of course. That's just an added bonus to why she's on the show as well. Nigel Quigley, he looked like a wee gnome last week. That's replying to my brother Martin and Norman. A wee gnome. I don't know what I've got it tonight. I don't know what the hell it is. I must be nervous. I'm a nervous type of guy, as you can tell. It must be the pressure I'm under. It must be having Jazz on. I don't know what it is. There we go. Nigel Quigley says, I should only take some breath. Only kidding. Great. Listen. There we go. So, Jazz, question: what's the best game you've ever been to?
Oh, Christ.
You've got 90 seconds to answer.
Oh, God. Right, Scotland game. There's too many Warrior games. But I think the Scotland game was a Scotland versus Ireland, believe it or not. And it was, because I never actually got to the winning Calcutta Cup games. Sorry about that. But it was the Scotland-Ireland game where right at the very end, and our Mr. Greig, and he scored the penalty, and there's a phenomenal shot of Johnny Sexton going, and wee Greig is there going, one of the best games I have ever been to. I was there with my cousin Emma, and we got the tickets on the fly, and they were debenture tickets. So we were kind of not quite up with the gods, but doing quite well. But that was a game and a half. That was the first time I just thought, this is what it's all about. This is why I need to come back. I need to come back. I need to come back. It is highly addictive. It is an addiction.
Good. Right. In fact, Nigel Quigley, I'm going to blame him for this. He just sent me a quick message saying there's a quick solution here. If I do that, right, talk to me now, Jazz. Absolutely, she's on mute. I'll unmute her now, but Nigel, well done.
Nice.
Oh, blame Quiggs, not me. Steph.
Hi.
Where do you think the women's game is now? I looked at, obviously, if you look at the Six Nations and the disparity between England as a professional team, the Red Roses, phenomenal player. I watched them play a couple of times, absolutely brilliant. And then you look at France, which I know they're not professional, but they're not they are, but anything, but on paper really. Yeah. And then you look at Ireland, and you look at Wales, and you look at Scotland, you look at Italy. How can we have a competitive game? How can we force the issue on money and equality if we don't have it there? Where do you think the game is at for you?
I think I mean the disparity that you're describing, it's real, and anybody who's watched any of the Women's Six Nations at all can see that there is a really big gap in the table, and a lot of that really doesn't come down to athletes or talent or coaching or anything. It just comes down to some programs are offering and supporting and growing and nurturing talent and just professionalizing a lot faster than others. I don't think that's a bad thing per se. I do think that there is a certain amount of that is almost, I don't want to say necessary, but like if you have to drag yourself up to compete with someone who's dragged themselves up farther, it makes the whole table move up. And then I think that's probably what's happening as well in the Tyrrells right now. There's at the top end of the table, there's a much different landscape and a much different way of conducting a rugby team than at the bottom. And I think that's, maybe right now it looks quite uneven, but I wonder how much of that is just maybe a somewhat normal growing pain. I do think that, the RFU are really trying to manage that here within England. And I think as well in the Six Nations, I think that the longer that the program goes on, the more Six Nations we have, I do think it will start to even out over time as, as teams have to remain competitive with the top of their table. I will say though that no matter how uneven something like the Six Nations might seem in scoreline or in anything right now, at least those teams all have the opportunity to play them. There's other parts of the world where women's national teams don't get as much game time. In the Northern Hemisphere, in North America, in places where you're not playing, 6, 8, 10 test matches a year, you just don't have the opportunity. And anybody will tell you that when it comes to improving as an individual world-class player, but also as a world-class squad, you need those game minutes and you need that time on the field. So even if you might look at a score line from this year's Six Nations and be like, wow, that is a gap. The fact that those games are getting played and those players are getting minutes and getting experience is still quite
difficult. Good.
It's it's difficult, but it's there's other national programs that don't get as much game time. So the bright side, I guess, is that those games are getting played regardless of the scoreline, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I watched one of the games from this year. I watched it was played in Doncaster in England against Ireland, and I think it was 27-0, something like that in the first half. And we held the Red Roses to next to nothing in the second half. And actually, the scoreline didn't belie how well the Irish girls played.
Yes.
Even though there was no score, it was just phenomenal.
That game was good.
It was brilliant. It was one of the best games of rugby I have seen in the last 12 months. Yeah. But here's the rub, right? I've got loads of girl panelists. It's a very loose team, as you well know. We've been on before. But we've got loads of girl panelists, but most of them, a bit like Jazz, prefer watching the men's game and are very, very knowledgeable. And this is why I coined the expression women's rugby and women in rugby. Because you've got people like Jazz is a woman in rugby. She is heavily involved in rugby, in the forums and the games. And I think there's a difference. And I think, no disrespect to any but there are some girls out there who are totally focused on women's rugby. And I think we've got to push more. I was so disappointed in the Six Nations this year that we didn't have a female official refereeing. When there are people, in my opinion, out there who are quality. But why? Is it because, and nothing against the people who run the competitions, but I throw the question quite rightly out there that you've got people like Joy Neville, superb. I've never seen her have a bad Pro 14 game, any assistant referee on the sidelines, nothing. Just leveled, approached, and deals with everybody and has the utmost respect. Most of the male referees don't have the same respect that she gets from players, and it's not because she's a lovely lady. It's because she's bloody good official at what she does. And how do we change that, Steph? How do we bring that on? Women in rugby.
That one. That's a big one. I think what you were talking about earlier about how just like there are some girls really quite into watching the men's game and less so the women's. There's also, and then there's the other side of that coin as well, both for men and women. I think that, and this is just my opinion, but I think that probably 90% of that comes down to things that aren't related to the actual game itself. like the atmosphere, the history, culture, you know, things that, yeah, you know, like the, you know, it's, I've been to some packed stadiums to watch a men's game and seen how people react when they hear their anthem played and stuff. And I think that those sorts of moments are harder to create for a spectator when you don't have a sold out giant stadium. You know what I mean? And I think that to get to that level of consistent viewership, people coming and sitting in a seat at a game, I think it has to be, you know, you have to remember the men's game is generations ahead of the women in that sense, right? You know, like a lot of people that go to rugby games, they have memories of going with their dad, their mom, their grandma, their grandpa, and this is something that the whole family has done forever, you know, and will have very deep-seated team allegiances and traditions and a whole host of game day preparations that they all go through, and it just takes time to build that up and to build up that allegiance and that decorum, I guess, that goes into a match day. And but those are all really important parts of building this the feeling, you know, the feeling that you're when you're there and you're like, we're all in this together. Like that takes I think a hot minute and maybe a couple generations almost. Because I think if you go to a women's game, especially at the top tier, and you know, put some blinders on and try to not think about the, I don't know what the word is, but you know,
I get it. Yeah,
environment, I guess.
It's a change of mindset, isn't it?
Yeah. And you watch the quality of play. I think there's not as much difference there. I think a lot of it is the vibe, you know. But we are getting there. Like we are starting to see there are women's premiership games, and especially some of the special games that clubs put on, you know, and I can't remember the name of it now, but the big match the Harlequins played just around Christmas time, you know, and they're seeing huge attendance numbers that are, I think, you know, forecasting a really good direction for the women's game. But I guess the shorter answer would have been, I think that atmosphere is a big part of it, and we're going to get there. We just don't have as much of a head start, I guess.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, as it happens, as you were just talking then, we have our fourth guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome to the show former Munster and Ireland star.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Sorry about that. I'm not great with technology now, so it was a stretch, but I got it working on the phone anyway.
Good stuff.
Right. We were all having trouble.
Look, I mean, it's be sorted with the phone. You've got a private chat line on it, and now hopefully the subliminal message from me to the rest of the estate up here to stop gaming while I'm on air as well.
Good luck with that
these days.
I tell you, I've now got 5 green bars. I don't know what's happened. I've now got 5 green bars, and it's all working perfectly, and you're all looking clear, and we can all hear you sound and everything like that. You're welcome to the show. Fiona Hayes, tell us, what have you been up to since you've retired from the game?
So I'm after going 2 feet in coaching, so I'm up to my neck with that at the minute. So I retired, say, this after the Interpros this year with Munster. But I had been coaching UCC for maybe the last 5 years, the University College. Cool. And when I was playing Interpros this year, I was head coach of the under-18s Munster team as well. So after that, I decided it was kind of time to let the younger ones come through at club wise. So I took up the role of head coach with UL Bows, and after a few months adjustment, it actually went pretty well, and I've been really enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And what are you working at full time now?
I'm a youth worker in Cork, so I work specifically with kids that get in trouble with the law. I actually I had to check myself there. I used to have a coach. I won't say it was. He coached me with Ireland, but he used to always say Pacifically. in the team speeches, and I'd be like, oh my god, and he'd say, and he might be talking about Team Pacifically England, and everyone would be like, specific, not Pacific. We'd be like, the Pacific Ocean, is it? But you couldn't say anything, so to keep my mouth shut, I had to really check in case I said it there.
I hope Jill's watching it, because it is singularly the word, if somebody says it on TV, the senza apoplectic. When people say that one word, just makes me giggle. I make words up, so it makes no difference to me. But it's interesting that a word from somebody else. There we go. Andy Devereux is saying, Jazz, don't explode. I think we were talking about men's and women's there. There's lots of little side issues things going on here. Go on, Jazz, you go on. You're not on mute. You can tell us what was it you wanted to say?
Oh, it was just it was Steph was talking there about women's rugby and you know the men and the women's game. From Lochaber Rugby Club in Fort William, which is where I live just now. Glaswegian born and bred, but Lochaber Rugby Club produced Helen Nelson and Katie Dugan, so they're two Scotland internationals. So we've done not too bad up here with the women. But in terms of like the local women's, the grassroots women's teams that I would love to follow if I could get up there, is Geary. It spells Garryoch but pronounced Geary. Rugby club up in Lothie, and I've got a really good mate up there called Kim Eads, and she is amazing on the pitch. So see, I always say up at Kellens Park, if I can get up there just to watch a training session or to watch a game, because they're doing really, really well, the girls up there. And I always say, God, I'd love to get up and watch you guys play. But obviously, because I live in Fort William, they're about 2 hours that way. Glasgow's about 2.5 hours that way. Edinburgh to Murrayfield is 3 hours that way. So I'm kind of like stuck there, dedication for you. But they're doing really, really well, and they've produced. I think there's another one, Jess Silcox. I haven't met her, but she's really good too. And they're at the grassroots level, but it's a proper women's rugby team that are actually doing really well. Lochaber, we haven't quite got that. We're not quite there yet because this community is really small. But Kim's. If you were to do the Facebook search, because I'm trying to drop names, if you were to do a Facebook search for Geary Rugby Club, the women's team are quite phenomenal. And then you see them go to like award ceremonies and they're all dressed in a nice dress. But they're quite inspirational. As a team, they do really, really well.
I think it's great. I mean, grassroots. I think you'll keep me right in this. In Ireland, the women's and the kids game is the fastest growing game. It is very good. I'm mindful of what Andy Devereux just put up there. If you watch the Women's Six Nations, we talked about this. France and England are head and shoulders above the rest. This has to be reflected in the other leagues. Obviously, Steph is with Bristol Bears, and Fiona's just recently left Munster. Needs professionalism in the Pro 14. So, Steph, first of all, how do you think the Women's Premiership League in the UK is? Do you think is that reflected, the time and money they put into that? It's now reflected in the Red Roses?
I'd say so. I think there's a reason that so many people from outside of England and the UK want to play in it as well. It's like the place to play if you want to play at the very top level, and develop internationally, and develop as a world-class player. It's where you want to be, and I think that the quality of play in the league and the way that the investment that's been put into it has reflected in the quality of teams that are being put out there and the number of players that are going into international player pools, not just for the Roses, is huge. It's huge, but of course it is an English league, and I think it's very clear that the Roses have been benefiting hugely from that. Even if there are a lot of internationals from outside of the UK playing here, they can only get better by playing the best of the best day in, day out. And you also get the most game time here. You know, getting to play everybody in your league twice in a regular season is massive. Other countries, well, a lot of countries don't even have women's premiership leagues, but the ones that do don't have that level of game time, and they don't get to play everybody in their league, and they don't get to play everybody in their league twice. So I think that there's a reason that England are doing so well, and I think it's because of the quality of the premiership, and there's a reason that so many people want to come and play here and be part of it, and that's why.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. There's a couple of points that come out of that as I bring Fiona in. It was only a couple of years ago that the England Red Roses were scrapped as central country. Only a couple of years, if I remember rightly, and then it was all sort of brought back again. But the game time, you discussed that before when we were talking about the Six Nations, and now it's the same in the league. One begets one. For you,
yeah.
Do you think we are we ever going to see a Pro 14 equivalent to the Premiership? Because Steph is right. I mean, the level there really does it. And of course, they've put the time and the money into the Red Roses, and one has built one. Whereas we've only got the Inter-Pros over here, haven't we?
Yeah, well, basically, it comes down to money. That's exactly what it is. It just comes down to money. The whole system of we'd always play home and away here as well. But the whole system is changing as of next year. So they've brought 2 new teams into the league. So we now have the league expanded, and they're trying to bring up the level of rugby. They've also giving more money to the clubs. And to get those 2 teams up, and including ourselves, for the last 2 years, you had to put in place underage systems for girls. You had to try and get a seconds team together, if at all possible. And there was a lot of things that went on, and they maybe, I'm not sure on this, but maybe 15 teams might have applied to enter. They go directly straight into this. It's probably, I don't even know if it's going to be called AIL. They might change the name of it, almost like a Premiership. Out of those teams, 2 were brought up, and it was a geographical thing as well. So Cork is where they've had the second team, because we are the only Bows are the only whole of Munster team. So basically, for the last few years, on a Bows team or on a Munster side, we would have been exceptionally good because we all played together. So we would have had maybe 15 Bows players on the 22 squad for Munster. You know what I mean? Because, and people can argue, oh, we've good players and we've this and that, but I've been at all trials. The best players were put forward. You know what I mean? Yes. And unfortunately, to play at that top level of rugby is what's going to get you on a Munster team. So they are making slight changes and trying to push the league higher, but they're never going to have the same amount of money. I think that's in the Premiership, and I suppose the RFU are paying for a lot of those for their English players as well. Aren't they getting money through that? I'm not 100%.
The England girls are contracted. Well,
yeah. So there's that. So if that comes into place, I think you will see. But from me coaching this year, and not just me personally, it was myself and Eve Briggs took Bows this year. I mean, we would have had and we have had over the last few years, a very, very professional setup, and not far off where we would be at Munster, training sessions wise, match day wise. The only difference is we set up a gym for them to go to during the week, so it is slightly pushing on, but it's more it's up to the players. You know what I mean? There's nothing there. If they don't want to do it, they don't do it. Because so as a coach, I have to understand that there's a lot of people, and people join to have fun as well, and might be just good at rugby, but they mightn't want to play with Ireland. So you're kind of balance out all that kind of stuff as well. You can't think just because I wanted that someone else wants that. So it's getting better, but I think money is the name of the game. So
is there in both? I mean, I know Jazz from a Scottish perspective. I don't know many of the Scottish ladies. I know Jade Conkle, and but she plays down in England, I think. Anyway, and I suppose it's a bit like some of your. If you can build up a reserve, isn't the word, ladies? If you build up a core, a group of whether they're Welsh or Towns, and they're playing, like the men do. go and playing in a top league, and like the Italians, no disrespect to the Italians, I only learned from Ian McKinley last week that there's only one team for every, that's it. You've got Benetton and you've got Zebra. They have one bloody team, and all of my so-called knowledge I've learned over the last 2 years, and I just automatically keep thinking that there's a first team, there's an A team that we have at Leinster type of thing. There's an academy, and we've got and other countries just don't have that. So it's interesting what we're doing in Ireland here. And I didn't know that. That's fab to hear. How do we develop? We've got a guy called Dan Funsale, former Springbok, who runs Rugby Academy Ireland up in Kildare. He's former Leinster women's coach, and they've got a thing though where they're bringing youngsters in and they're taking them through lots of different courses, but they've got a 12-month program. And if they don't make it to the top level, they're training them. And in fact, they come out of the 12-month course with a strength and conditioning qualification, cool. Or as an analyst or a coach.
That's cool.
Oh, I think it's brilliant. Why? I asked this question openly. Why the IRFU isn't using Rugby Academy Ireland as an almost like a feed and an interim, taking, I know all the school system and everything like that in Ireland, and it's all very convoluted. It doesn't have to be, in my opinion, but it is. But maybe there's a lot of our girls out there from the not women's rugby, but women in rugby aspect, where they could become officials or analysts or coaches or stuff like that. And I think I'm wondering whether we're losing a trick there, and that will naturally have a pull through.
But is it like, from my perspective, I don't know this. Do you have to pay to go on this course? Like, some people mightn't have money,
Yes, they do.
Then it's kind of like, you can't be just pulling, like, obviously you can look at it, but they can't be like the sole people coming through because it's a money thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I might be out the front playing a bit of ball and I mightn't have a penny to my name. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I suppose there are a few look at it like that.
Hence the IRFU overtop of using it almost to bring people on, because I think if you look from the lad side of things, you've got almost the sub. And if you look at Leinster, the schools around Dublin within the Pale, you've got sub academies which would be better than some Pro 14 teams. They'd be jealous of the facilities that they've got. Let's not deny it. But there's considering that the girls and the kids is the fastest growing in Ireland, as an example, maybe we're missing a trick there where we can bring the girls on. Steph, what do we do how does it work in the UK? Bristol Bears, for example, do you have girls academy coming through, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, and they do a lot of work with the age grade program, and then they also have sister clubs around the area that everyone goes out and maintains relationships with and runs sessions with, coaching sessions with. I went out and did one. I guess it was like the week before we shut down, whenever that was. Feels like a million years, but I think it's like, I don't know, a week and a half.
A week ago.
I was like, must have been last month. I don't know. But which I think is key to exactly what you're talking about, because at the end of the day, no matter how much we all love rugby, not everybody is going to be, an international player, and that's absolutely fantastic. But there are more options than just playing for fun or being a professional. There's a whole range of jobs and career options available that are not only available, but super necessary. And I think it's really important to make sure that we are, as a community, just making sure that people aren't falling out of the rugby career path because they're not a player or don't want to be a player. You know what I mean? Like, some of the best, I've been coached by some really great people, and learned things that I didn't even know I didn't know, and not all of them were the best player in the entire world. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be an international player to have a career in rugby outside of playing. So.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's the whole point, is that there are other roles for women in rugby. Is there much in Ireland, Fiona, for developing the other aspects? I mean, you're heavily involved at the forefront for coaching, analysis, strength and conditioning.
Not really. I mean, It's kind of like with the coaching, I suppose from me, like I'm obsessed with rugby. So like I would have obviously I played with Ireland, but I would put my hand on my heart and tell you I wasn't the best rugby player around. You know, I was clever and I knew the game inside out, so that would have stood to me kind of a lot. So I'd be very technical about how I go about things in my thinking as well. So I was always kind of going to go down that career. Like I always said, I want to coach because I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with the breakdown. I'm obsessed the way the laws keep changing. It's just something I love. You know, I would have played with players who were absolutely outstanding, and I was nearly going to curse. And they wouldn't be able to tell you one rule or one law of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I won't mention names, but this was years ago, and some played with Ireland, and I'd be like, oh my God, like you've captained Ireland, and you don't, you know, but that they were just naturally, probably couldn't go on and coach because they just loved the aggression or whatever side of it. Whereas the side I loved. So it like they're starting. I got on the coaching course the equivalent to level 4 there. So there was maybe 3 or 4 of us. There was myself, Maz, and Grace. 3 of us actually that I played before, and 3 of us are kind of the ones that are kicking on doing the coaching now. But kind of, I mean, trying to get anything else, I wouldn't say there's much of a, like, you know, it's kind of, you got to go about it yourself. I suppose it is like in all things, whereas like the guys finished rugby maybe with Ireland, those guys would have been like pushed in a direction, oh, you can go on and be an analysis, or you can do this, and they're like kind of cocooned into doing something rugby after that, whereas kind of we finished, well, I would have found we finished and it was like, okay, that's it, rugby's over, you know what I mean? See you later.
Thanks, bye.
So like I just kind of I was on ITV for the last World Cup. That is just pure luck. It happened to someone text and I was like, yeah, great, and I really enjoyed it. But even over here, it's kind of sewn up. They have the same people, you know, in RT, there's 3 or 4, and that's it. And that's just the way it is, and that's fine. But it like trying to get involved, I would have studied media studies as well in college, trying to get involved in that side. I've been trying for last year, and I'm finding it kind of hard to kind of push into that side of things. But
I can stand. If you had, Steph, if you had one thing that you could see, and I'm conscious now that sort of the time has moved on, but we've got perfect reception, everything. So I'm going to keep it going for a couple more minutes because I really, you know, I know that you've been sort of maxed out working today.
You're right.
You know, and everybody is. So it's I've lived in here. I don't physically live in here. I'm not like Harry Potter where the food's put outside the door and Bod comes to see me because I've got no mates. But I've been sort of doing this, you know, working from home and stuff, apart from being released out to the odd bit of consultancy and stuff and some meetings, you know, for the last 3 or 4 years. So for me, it's like, it's a virus. A day becomes, and I genuinely have to put my alarm clock for meetings and things now and days and times because I lose track of it. So I am very, very grateful to all of you girls for taking the time, because I know life is still going on and we're having to adapt around it. Steph, what would you like to see World Rugby as an overarching body do to develop women's rugby globally over the next sort of 2 to 5 years? And I say that because I don't think that we can really we discussed about the men's. All the leagues, all the competitions are run by private entities. So the Six Nations will never currently have Six Nations League 2 because the Six Nations, it's so much money involved. That's it. Pro 14, blah, 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 Premiership. It's all sort of gerrymandered, if you want, for a better term, in the nicest way, because they're there to make money as well. But what would you like World Rugby to do to develop the women's game in the wider sense?
I think, well, you gave me quite a question, but okay.
Well, if you answer it, I'm going to go to World Rugby in Dublin and apply for a job and say I've got a solution. So,
I have an original idea that I did not steal. I think, and this is without any kind of understanding of what budgets people are working on, or even specific to rugby. I think that a lot of women's sports are having very, very similar experiences and very similar struggles right now, as we move towards increasing equality across the board for female athletes everywhere. But I think that in women's rugby and in the vast majority of women's sports, I think that there is a lack of, I don't want to call it understanding, but I think that I always use this analogy, like for men's sports, it's like if you, this is weird, but hold on. It's like if you had, you had a chicken and you're in a part of the world that's never eaten eggs before. And you're like, you know what, we can make so much money selling eggs to these people, but they don't know about eggs. So we're going to spend a bunch of money on a PR campaign to teach them about how eggs are good for them. And we're going to buy a bunch of chickens and we're going to build a beautiful state-of-the-art facility for the chickens. We're going to hire experts in the chickens and we're going to buy them the best food, blah, 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 blah. And we're going to operate at a loss for a while. But at some point, it's going to pay off, right? And then for women's sports, it's like, if you can show me a profit-turning, egg-laying chicken, I may subsidize part of its food. We don't really have an appetite for operating at a loss for women's sports in general, because we think it's I don't know why, money gone. Whereas if it happens in a men's league, it tends to be like phrased or viewed as like building value or investing in a future payout. And I think it's not something that's specific to rugby for a long shot. The women's soccer team in the US, or football, had a league in the late 90s that folded and for basically that exact reason. And so I mean that's not really an easy answer to mock up and put in your job proposal. But I think that whenever we're putting into place policies or plans, from anything from age grade rugby to school programs to recreational programs to anything we do in terms of growing the game, growing the sport, and increasing our numbers, I think it's important to recognize that operating at a loss is for a moment is building investment for the future. And I think that we have a lot of ability to have leeway or to see it as building value in a men's game, but we're less likely to see it that way for women's sports. And I think that that's probably what has to change first.
Yeah, no, I fully get that. Ladies and gents, you're welcome if you just joined the show. Go back to the beginning. It is worth it to come through some of those. Ian Gilbert said, I didn't hear where Steph is originally from. Steph, do you want to tell him? I think Caitlin.
I'm Canadian.
From Saskatchewan. Look, Caitlin, well done. See, that's teamwork. Somebody asks a question, and one of your friends answers for you. We like that. No, I thank you for the answer to that, because it is all personal thoughts and personal things, and you have that right, because you each of you have that passion and the drive, and you live for it. And I'm very conscious, Fee, what you said about the fact that for the women's game, really, once you finish it, thanks very much. Cheers. Now, next one's coming through. It's almost like that in some ways in the men's game, because if you're out injured for 6 months, the amount of guys coming through now, the way that the academy system is working, you're almost forgotten about. But I still think that there are things done to, park this mental health issue about lifelong, putting people through. And I'd like to see more. Someone like you is ideal to be able to look at that from a strategic and an operational piece. Fab job you're doing with the youth work and the kids. That's really, that's a fab thing. We need to get you in the IRFU and looking at the women's development, because people, no, seriously, I don't have to blow smoke, but people like someone like you with your thought process and that viewpoint, it's only going to take 2 or 3. Everybody is driven by an individual that they can buy into and they believe. And that's what you come across as. And I'd buy into that, having, that I think that's just something that's missing. It's the passion that every single female that I speak to who follows rugby, is involved in rugby, has been involved, has a passion sometimes far, far, far beyond that of the men, because you've had to work harder to be accepted on where you are. And I think it's difficult. Jazz,
can I ask, just like as an observation from a supporter? I mean, Fiona, hi, lovely to meet you. Like you said that you know rugby inside and out, whereas because you played it and you're at such a standard, it's unbelievable. I could only aspire to. But as a supporter who hasn't played, whether I play in future is, it'll be just for fun, to be honest. But watching as a supporter, and I try and watch the women's games as well. So see when it was the World Cup games and the Six Nations games. So our game against England was deferred to the next day because of the weather.
Yeah.
And they played at Scotstoun in the freezing cold with no supporters. And I just thought that was absolutely heartbreaking. It was freezing. They had no one. I mean, you guys that play, you want your crowd behind you to just cheer you on, at least motivate you. Other than that, it's just a training session that actually gets allocated points. And one of the most iconic photographs out of that whole game between Scotland and England was when one of the England players, I forget her name, I do apologise, I'm terrible with names, gave one of the Scotland girls a cup of tea. They shared a cup of tea because it was freezing, and that to me was iconic. You just kind of thought, do you know what? The Calcutta Cup, the whole mentality that goes behind that for the men. See when you watch the women, especially in that scenario, and a lot of them are amateurs. So to watch them in that weather with no supporters to cheer them on, and you just kind of thought, God, our women are bloody hardy, and that's heartbreaking. It's really quite upsetting. And just also what you were saying, Fiona, because I'm kind of concerned that you two, I need to stop talking. But jobs within the rugby profession for women where you can't play because you're bloody injured. I would love to be the next Lee McKenzie. I would love to be Al Kellock's next Girl Friday. I would just be wallowing in that would be like my dream job. To be like not a pundit as such, but at least a journalist of Scottish rugby. But that's a whole different ball game. I need to start watching a lot more. I need to start learning a bit more. But it brings out the passion, because then I can obviously go and watch women's games as well. Women's rugby is just it's hard when you're in such a small town trying to get a women's team together. But the fact that we produced Casey Dugan and Helen Nelson is really quite a massive thumbs up for the Scotland national team.
Jazz, why don't you go and do an officials course or officials try day?
What is a race?
Why not?
Joking?
That would be funny. Listen, we got a couple more messages because I'm conscious of your time, girls, and we lost a bit at the beginning there, which I'm sorry about. But we did get everybody on. Ian Gilbert, who's our ambassador extraordinary in Madrid, hola, says that I'm not allowed about my own public safety menace. I think that should say, mate. People would say. Nice quickly up in Ulster, White Walker 1 says some may have to have a rethink about the tournaments after this crisis. Some money seems sparse in some areas. Yeah, they do. It is going to be difficult, and I hope that's not an excuse that people use. And we've got, I think, Steph, we've got your mum on. Very interesting dialogue. Steph's mum, let's hear it for Steph's mum. Christine, welcome to. Is that?
Hi, Mum.
Is that Niem?
Hi, Steph's mother.
Hi, Mum.
She saw you having a drink there as well, I'd say.
Yeah, I just want to tell you this, Mum.
I'm an adult mom. I can have a drink.
Fair play, Christine. You're welcome to the show. We've enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us. Liam Ben's finished off with. There we go. Liam says the women's game will take time to just look at the professional football now. It is, and everything is. Unfortunately, it is about money and the things I think. Ladies, leave me with one abiding thought that really, Fiona Hayes, what sums up rugby for you? What is rugby about? What does it mean? You're part of my World Rugby application.
I'm fixing this now. I suppose, I don't know, I can't, in summing it up, I suppose I lived right beside Thomond Park. I used to jump over the wall to go watch Munster play when I was a child. I live right beside the stadium. And I never, I always like, oh yeah, what a game, but it's only till I actually started playing. And I suppose teammates are what anyone, all shapes, sizes, whatever you are, you're just playing rugby, you're having beers, there's just so many different personalities. You know that yourself. It's, like there's all the stereotypical sizes for different positions, but it actually is very true. I've coached, I've played, I've drank with all different types of people, and it's just a camaraderie. And still to this day, I would have contact with the majority of them at all levels, all different levels. For someone who couldn't run forward or pass the ball, to someone who's probably one of the best players I've ever met. It doesn't matter what you're like playing rugby. It's just what you are as a person, and that comes out when you're on the pitch together. Blood, sweat, and tears, I suppose.
I think that's exactly it. Honest, like when you're on a rugby pitch, it's just, that's exactly who you are as a person. There's no time for anything else, and you get to really understand who people are without everything else that the world puts on. I think maybe that's why rugby seems to be able to cross so many like economic and class barriers, education barriers, like at any team. I've been aware of the fact that we're on every team I've ever played on, it's always been a really weird mix of people when you think about it outside of a sports team. Like if you took all of those people, put them in a room that wasn't a rugby club, you'd be like, what would we even talk about? I have no idea, but I would probably die for them for some reason, like it's really strange actually. And I think it probably has something to do with how hard rugby is actually. Like you're exhausted constantly, and it's difficult, and like nobody's having an easy, fun time most of the time, And I think that you can't go through something like that with a group of people and not come out the other side of it feeling like you're in it together, I guess. And I think a lot about the sport too kind of reflects being a decent human in the world. Like if you're a good teammate and if you're a good person to play with, then you really can't be going too wrong in life, I think. Because a good rugby teammate understands that like we have a plan. All of us sort of have a plan, but like somebody might go off script and I still have to support them anyways, and I'm not going to judge them. I might make fun of them, but like I still have to go wreck them over. And like you can't just like hang people out to dry, and you can't be a princess about stuff, and you have to do the conditioning even if it sucks. And all of those things sort of make you a good human outside of rugby as well. So I think I don't know, maybe that's why it's like resonates so deeply with everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't start playing until I was in the British Forces. I played football, did judo, stuff like that, and then I started playing when I was 21. And my son mate says, right, Shep, we're playing rugby today with a man's short. I said, well, what do I do? He says, well, you're what we call a tie head prop, right? Okay. And that was it. And I said, no, there was no coach. And he says, right. He says, you put your head in between.
Just what you echoed on about your time in the military.
They did you dirty, Joe.
Yeah.
The lie here. It's just kind of summing up basically for me what Fiona and Steph have both said, and it's that one thing that we do in the British military, and it's esprit de corps, and it's all about like what they've just said, camaraderie. You can't be a bad person and play rugby because it will come out eventually. It doesn't matter whether it's a men's international team, a women's international team, a men's grassroots team, a women's grassroots team. It's all about that esprit de corps, the camaraderie, and the sense of belonging. It's ultimately about a sense of belonging. That's just for me. That's my abiding.
I think that's good. Yeah. I think all three are saying exactly the same thing, and I think it's, for me, when I started this, it was a whole pile of reasons, but it has probably been the closest things I've had to the links that I had with the forces doing this. Since I was in, and it is fab. Right, we need to finish off. Ian Gilbert in Madrid says, "Hi, Steph's mum." Says, "Hey, Steph's mum, Christine, we're gonna have to get you on the show."
No, we don't.
We've had things in the past where we've had wives in the background of the kitchen for meals the next day. Hello, Mrs. Quigley. Up in Ulster, we've had all sorts. We've had the kids on. It's great. That's what we absolutely love. And Christy says, "Thanks, Rugby Rules. Hi, Steph." There we go. No escaping the rugby family or the real family, as it would go. And Ian Gilbert, who was in Madrid, obviously from the north, he says, "Good woman, your ma," as we say in Northern Ireland. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to finish there. A couple of quick things before. Great crack. Thank you to Stefania Evans from Bristol Bears Ladies.
Thanks for having me.
And Fiona, are you aware of Ruggette RFC, the clothing apparel line?
I saw Anna in a few of the pictures anyway.
Yeah, you need to speak
she
to.
possibly can, so I saw her. She was in there, all right.
I missed that last bit. Say again.
I said Anna loves to get her ass in as many shots as she can, so I saw that she was modelling all right. She's loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. But her clothing line at Ruggette RFC is absolutely fab, and I love the way that they describe that there are two sizes of ladies or two types of ladies. A bloke marketing wouldn't get away with doing that, but it works.
No.
It's absolutely fabulous, absolutely superb. So listen, Stefania Evans, good luck when you start back again with Bristol Bears, and I hope that Canada come knocking on the door as quickly as your mum came knocking on the door tonight, which was absolutely fab. Christine, you're the star of tonight's show. Fiona Hayes, thank you for eventually making it on. And I know you're really busy, and good luck with everything that you're doing on the coaching side. And good luck with the work you're doing with these kids. Jazz, it's been a real blast. I have to tell you, thank you for being such a fan. It's that fan, it's that passion that drives us through what we're doing. On next Monday's show, the Kigo is
5 minutes.
I missed that bit.
It was a bit more than 5 and 5, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, we adapt the shows as we go. Look, we can do what we want. When you produce and host the show and direct and all the rest of things, it's been great, and we've really appreciated Jazz Robertson having you on Super Glasgow and Scotland Superfan. On next Monday's show, our COVID-19 series, the Kigo and Big Joe show, we are working with the great Rugby Fanatics Talking Forum, and we are doing a joint global rugby quiz, 8:30, and there'll be prizes from our friends at coffeedog.ie on Monday as well. So there'll be more details coming out from both Three Blokes of Ball, Couch Pundit, and Rugby Fanatics Talking. Tomorrow there'll be an event that's going up, so that'll be a great bit of crack there on Monday. It will be very simple questions. It will be about having a bit of fun. It has to be simple because we're setting up bloody things. So there's not going to be any, it's going to be a bit of fun so you can answer them. And there'll be prizes for the most stupid or weirdest of answers as well. So a global rugby quiz, which will be going out into 80-odd forums next Monday. And then next Wednesday, I have got a one-on-one with David Campese, and we are reviewing the 1991 Rugby World Cup quarter-final, Ireland versus Australia, where we were 3 minutes away from winning, and we should have done. But there we go, we didn't. So hopefully, when we review it, we might find out the reason why. So that's next Monday, next Wednesday. Until then, thank you for everybody who has supported the show tonight. We got there in the end, to Fiona Hayes, to Stefania Evans, and to Jasvir Robertson. Thank you, ladies. Please stay safe during this time, and we will see you all very soon. I've been Big Joe Shep. This is another educationalizing, crack-filled, banter-driven, technically challenging at times episode of Three Blokes of Ball and BOD. Until next Monday, good a mila maha got haggis, slang a fall.